All right. Hello. Under the motion of this House regrets the rise of homeschooling, we are very proud for the Prime Minister to take the podium. Hear, hear.
Hear, hear. Yes, Prime Minister,
Yes.
please come
Prime
to the
Minister?
podium.
Daniel, you do have.
Hear, hear.
I was on my speech in 3, 2.
Oh, you should.
No, on the podium, yeah. Okay. Be careful.
I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Imagine a world where homeschooling doesn't exist. Every child is independent from total help from parents, and they are all able to thrive and cooperate with their classmates. However, the status quo is not like what we imagine. Students frightened to go to schools aren't able to adapt to it. Schools are like minimalized societies, and without them, the world would only be a more complicated place for the homeschooled people. To start with, homeschooling is very much inefficient. Now, when we think about the status quo where homeschooling is rising, the parents have to take the special care of them, going from work to home every day. Homeschooling has a really big impact on the later life of the children and also for the current situation of the parent. To give an example, parents need to acquire books, knowledge, equipments, pretty much a lot of things that are required in schools. Plus, homeschool children are mostly taught extracurricular subjects such as debates, sports, etc. And this costs not only a lot of money but also lots of time, which would simply be solved by going to schools. Moreover, as they are taught differently from what other children are taught, it will be very hard for the later life of the homeschool people. For example, when a homeschool person later goes to a college or some sort of stuff, they won't be able to follow it up with other colleagues because they are taught differently. They don't know what they are taught during those 20 years. So, because the homeschool children would be able to cope really a lot, it would be hard for them to adapt to their later lives. Thank you.
Thank you for that speech. I'd like to call upon the leader of opposition. Hear, hear. You can start whenever you're ready.
So, as leader of opposition, I would like to start with the rebuttal to the Prime Minister's argument. So first, the Prime Minister said that extracurricular activities such as debates, sports, and etc. are expensive. However, when we go to schools, the parents also send them to academies, so the amount of cost that goes into the students' education, I think it will be similar. And also, the Prime Minister also said that they are taught differently, so they might have a hard time when they go to college. However, in this debate, we're focusing on the situation when the rise of homeschooling. So homeschooling would be a trend. So most of the students will be homeschooling. So I don't think the students who are having a hard time due to homeschooling would be a small amount. And as the leader of opposition, I'll start my speech with saying the stakeholders, which are the parents, students, teachers, and etc. Homeschooling is basically using their home as a school, as it says in this name. In homeschooling, it can help the students who have hard time bonding with their peers or the students who want more attention for a better education. In homeschooling, the parents place the roles of diverse teachers and other people, for example, the lunch lady who gives the students food and the janitor that keeps the students' environment clean. Rise of homeschooling can benefit the students by getting a better education. When we think about why the teachers are there to teach the student, it is because of money. Because they need to earn a living in order to live. However, in homeschooling, the teacher who also plays the role as the parent of the student, the parent would be there to teach the student for the children, so that is also the student. By this, we can already see the benefit of homeschooling by the reason why the teachers play their role. Also, homeschooling is more private compared to schools, so when the student mostly follow the school's pace of education, the schools follow the student's pace when it comes to learning and education. So the rise of homeschooling will benefit the student by having a better environment, which is more concentrated for the student. Another reason that the rise of homeschooling is beneficial for the student is that homes can provide most of the things that are in most public schools, but in a more student-centered way. The government can state that the teachers are more professional in a typical subject. The schools are more beneficial to the student, rather than being homeschooled. However, due to COVID-19, online education developed rapidly, so homeschooling can also provide the things that schools can provide.
Thank you for the speech of law. I'd like to call upon the DPM. Here. Oh, Daniel, then you're doing the whip. Oh, you're doing the baby whip. Okay.
I'll start in 3, 2, 1. I'll first start with my rebuttal, and it's been So I'll first start with my rebuttal. So the leader of the opposition said that rebutted our prime minister by saying that children who are being homeschooled are going to be a majority. So them not being able to socialize is not going to be a problem. But even if you gather children who are not able to socialize, and let's just say, for example, if every kid in school was homeschooled and they don't know how to socialize, they are still not going to be able to socialize, even if there is a lot of them. So the problem of them socializing doesn't matter on how many children are going to be socialized. It's just a problem either way. So that's it. And my argument is going to be homeschooling is going to alienate kids in society. And currently, homeschooling is becoming more popular around families, and children are now taught at home instead of school. So this is because parents think that their child is different, or maybe because they just don't want them to be different from other kids. But their parents are making the situation worse for their own children, because being homeschooled, and as more and more kids get homeschooled, as more and more children are going to be homeschooled, children are not going to know, in class, how to raise their hand to speak, and they won't know how intelligent they are compared to their peers. However, on the other hand, children who actually go to school will know this kind of basic knowledge to fit into society, and they are going to have a higher and more advanced level. They're going to be more socialized, and since the percentage of children who are taught at school is still the majority, children who are taught at home will have less experience in society than children who went to school. So there are also more problems and more reasons homeschooled children are not going to be able to adjust to society. When children get homeschooled, they don't have teachers that are specialists on every subject that exists. unlike schools. So when children are not going to be able to have basic knowledge that will probably work as like a safety net later on in their career. So as homeschooling rises, more and more children are going to have this kind of disability or something that's going to not help their path later. So also before their career, they're also going to have to go to college. But when they go to college, they're going to do a test or maybe go to college with the results they got before going to college. So after that result comes out, and maybe if they go to a college, they're not going to be able, their skill will not be able to be compared with the children who had motivation from peers and teachers. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you for the speech. I'd like to call upon the DLO here.
I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. I'm the Deputy Leader of Opposition, and I will start by making my rebuttals. The Deputy Prime Minister said that homeschooling will make students more or less sociable, and as more students get homeschooled, they will know how intelligent they are to their peers and how to raise their hands and have basic social knowledge. But this is actually not true, because if you get homeschooled, you can get a better environment to study, and even if parents are not specialized in sectors like science and math and English and etc., and only special teachers who have majored in that kind of subjects, there's a lot of information on the internet because technology has developed a lot, and there are many good resources like internet videos of those kind of specialized subjects. So homeschooling will actually be more effective to the students, because they can have tailored classes that what they need to improve, like math or English. Now I'll say my third argument, which is homeschooling is better tailored to the student and child's level of education and preferences. Every child student is different. They have different hobbies, preferences, and preferred subjects, and etc. Everyone has a subject that they most struggle with and a confident subject that they are good at. Everyone is different. So there are difficulties at school. It is impossible for the teacher to take care of every student in a class, and some children might think that the class is very easy and basic, but others might struggle to even understand the class and what the teacher is saying. But this is kind of vague. So this kind of vague class that no one can benefit is not effective. In fact, classes that are more tailored to the child can be more effective and highly beneficial. Let me give an example. For instance, maybe class schedules. If at school, it would just be like first period is math, second period is English, and etc. There would be no changes, and it would be the same every week. But in homeschooling, it's a little different. If a homeschooling student A is talented in math and struggles with English or social studies, A's day schedule should be kind of like this. First period is math to keep A from sleeping and not concentrating, and maybe more English classes so he can improve his skills and understanding it, and keeping it to basic classes of English so that A can master it in English. Because A is talented in math, A can have advanced classes in math. This will be less boring to A and more exciting and interesting, so it will be more helpful educationally. The impact will be that homeschooling is more tailored to the student's level of education and preferences, so they will be more happy and have a positive feel when they're learning, which is mentally and physically much more better to them. Homeschooling would make students excel and enjoy learning, which is positive to the world that needs many creative thinking people. Basically, homeschooling gives children and students a chance to flee from classes and lessons that are not suitable for them, and instead to tailored lessons where they can learn much more and improve. So our team believes that homeschooling is good. Thank you.
Thank you for the speech. I'd like to call upon the government whip here.
turn to page 1. Our side has given you, our side has told you that homeschooling has caused inefficiency and alienates children. So I'll first start with my rebuttal. So the opposition side said that homeschooling is more beneficial and homeschooling is better than school because it provides a better environment than at school because you can get tailored education and you can learn more about what you do better and what you prefer. So first of all, the environment is not going to have any motivation for the students, and also as this kind of homeschooling keeps like the amount of children who are getting homeschooled as it rises, this kind of tailored education is not going to be effective because if you're good at something and if you prefer something and you just keep learning it and more children start doing that, there's gonna be a kind of subject that many children can't do because they weren't good at it in the first place and they started doing what they preferred. So if you keep doing what you prefer at homeschooling, later when you go to college or go into society, children are not going to be able to fix that gap they should have fixed when they were learning what they preferred instead of what they actually needed to learn. But in school, since the school education system is based on it was made by the government, it's going to be more balanced and it's going to help the student improve on what the student can't do. So it's going to be more helpful than at home learning what you do better. So that's it.
Thank you for the speech. I'd like to call upon the opposition whip. You're here. You can start whenever you're ready.
I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. So I'll just go straight to my speech. Kids when they go to school, no, I'll just talk about homeschooling. So when they do homeschooling, as the DPM I mentioned, kids might get isolated from the society, but for me, and even though I'm not a parent, as a parent's perspective, I think my kid or their kid getting isolated from society is much more better than getting bullied at school and getting traumas or maybe if the bullying was very harsh and stuff, even leading into disabilities at the future. And also when they go to school, kids, they sometimes some of them get bullied and they're forced to learn what they don't want to learn and they're expected to think that the way they were taught, especially in history classes and stuff, and some teachers doesn't even care, teachers. Some teachers mostly not care about students unless it brings harms to them, and then when we do homeschooling, the parents, they can focus more on the children and children can learn more, and even though they might get isolated from the society, they at least don't get bullied, and then bullied a lot and get like traumatized and stuff. And for those reasons, like homeschooling is better than just going to schools.
Thank you for that speech, and thank you for that debate. You're here.